So Mark Carney just made a handshake deal with Alberta to build a pipeline to the west coast, and apparently this is supposed to make Donald Trump sweat. Yeah, you heard that right. Canada's grand strategy to counter American tariff threats is to threaten them with the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we'll sell our oil to someone else. It's like telling your clingy ex you might start dating other people while still living in their basement. But here's the thing, this could actually work, or it could be the most expensive bluff in Canadian history. Welcome back to Canadian Insights, where we break down the political chess matches that somehow always end with Canada saying sorry. Today we're diving into whether Carney's Alberta energy deal is a genius power move or just really expensive wishful thinking. Let's set the stage here. Mark Carney, fresh off his leadership win, is trying to look tough on the international stage. Trump's threatening tariffs like he's handing out Halloween candy, and Canada needs leverage. Any leverage. So Carney flies out to Alberta, shakes hands with Danielle Smith, which is a miracle in itself considering their history, and announces they're going to build a pipeline to the Pacific. The goal? Ship Canadian oil to Asia instead of being completely dependent on American buyers. It's actually not a terrible idea on paper. Diversify your customer base, create competition, make the Americans realize they're not the only game in town. Classic negotiation tactics. Heather Exner-Pirot from the Macdonald-Laurier Institute put it perfectly. If she were the United States, she'd have a little bit of fear of missing out, and that would incentivize negotiation. Fear of missing out. Canada is trying to use FOMO as a trade negotiation tactic. We've officially turned geopolitics into a high school dating strategy. But honestly, it's not completely insane. Right now, American refineries get Canadian oil at a discount because we have nowhere else to sell it. They know it, we know it, everyone knows it. It's like being stuck at a garage sale where there's only one buyer and they're offering you $20 for your vintage collection. You take it because what else are you going to do? So theoretically, if Canada could actually ship oil to Asia, suddenly American buyers would have to compete. Competition means better prices mean more money for Canada, and more money means we can afford to stand up straighter in trade negotiations instead of doing our usual apologetic shuffle. Martha Hall-Findlay from the University of Calgary agrees. More energy export options should strengthen Canada-US trade relations. Translation, having other options makes you less desperate, and being less desperate means people take you more seriously. But hold on. Before we start printing Canada, now with options t-shirts, we need to talk about the two absolutely massive problems with this plan. First, will this actually make Trump blink? And second, will this pipeline ever actually get built? Because spoiler alert, Canada has a bit of a track record with pipeline promises. Let's tackle Trump first. The thing about Donald Trump is that his decision-making process isn't exactly what you'd call predictable. Exner-Pirot herself admitted that how they calculate things in the White House these days seems to be beyond understanding. That's diplomatic speak for, your guess is as good as mine. Trump's tariff threats aren't always about economics. Sometimes they're about leverage, sometimes they're about headlines, sometimes they're about whatever he ate for breakfast. Trying to predict whether the threat of Canada selling oil to China will make him reconsider tariffs is like trying to predict the weather by staring at a magic 8-ball. Sure, it might work, but you're mostly just hoping. That said, economically speaking, it could matter. The United States imports about 4 million barrels of Canadian oil per day. That's not pocket change. If Canada suddenly had the infrastructure to redirect even a portion of that to Asia, American refineries would notice. Prices would shift. Supply chains would get uncomfortable. Would it be enough to stop Trump from slapping tariffs on Canadian goods? Maybe. Would it be enough to make him think twice? Possibly. Would it definitely work? Well, this is Trump we're talking about, so file that under who knows. Now let's talk about the even bigger elephant in the room. Will this pipeline actually get built? Because Canada's relationship with pipeline construction is like Canada's relationship with winning the Stanley Cup. We talk about it constantly, we get really excited occasionally, and then nothing happens for decades. Remember Energy East? Remember Northern Gateway? Remember literally every other pipeline project that got tangled in regulatory approval, environmental assessments, indigenous consultations, provincial disagreements, and federal flip-flopping until everyone just gave up? Building a pipeline to the West Coast isn't like ordering furniture online. It's a multi-billion-dollar, multi-year, multi-government nightmare that requires federal approval, provincial cooperation, indigenous partnership, environmental reviews, and about 17,000 permits. Oh, and public support, which in Canada means getting people from Vancouver to Calgary to agree on something, which is roughly as easy as teaching a moose to juggle. Carney and Smith shaking hands is step 1 of about 9,000 steps, and history suggests most of those steps involve lawsuits, protests, and parliamentary committees arguing about things for years. So what does this all mean? Is Carney's energy deal with Alberta a legitimate power play that could give Canada leverage against Trump's tariffs? On paper, yes. In theory, absolutely. If Canada could diversify its energy exports and create real competition for American buyers, that would genuinely strengthen our negotiating position. We'd have options, we'd have leverage, and would finally have something to bring to the table besides politeness and hockey facts. But in practice? Well, we've got to actually build the thing first, and Canada's track record on that front is shakier than a Tim Hortons coffee cup on a pothole-filled road. Even if we do build it, we've got to hope that Trump's White House operates on traditional economic logic, which is a gamble roughly equivalent to betting your mortgage on a coin flip. Still, it's better than doing nothing. And at the very least, it sends a message that Canada is trying to be less economically dependent on the United States, which is a message worth sending even if the execution gets messy. So there you have it. Carney's made his move, Alberta's on board, and now we wait to see if this pipeline dream becomes reality or joins the graveyard of Canadian infrastructure projects that sounded great at press conferences. Will it give us clout against Trump? Maybe. Will it actually happen? That's the real question. What do you think? Is this a smart strategy or just political theater? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button if you want to see more Canadian politics breakdowns, and subscribe to Canadian Insights because we post multiple videos every single day keeping you updated on everything happening in Canadian politics. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next,